October 28, 2025, the Broken Promises protest for BC forestry reform was just an idea. On November 18th, 1,300 people in 12 different locations around British Columbia participated in a grassroots-led mass protest. We asked ecologist Dr. Rachel Holt if she would consider speaking at the Nelson protest and later at a speaking event that evening. She said yes.
Do you know how many lesbians and poodles care for the forest? A lot. A disproportionate number of lesbians and poodles care for the forest. But what I see here today is the full cross-section of society. And what the world likes to put on the word environmentalists is that image, lesbians and poodles. Right? So we need all of you who don't look like me and her and that dog to tell them that you are a regular person. You have a job, you care, you have education, you know about what is happening, and you are not fooled. So, because the problem is, it's only the people who have the time to go to the blockades, who actually want to put their life on that hold, that pause, that they get to see. They don't see all of you. And this is why you need to come out and raise your voices all the time. So I just had the most fun weekend of my life. I went to the NDP convention in Victoria. I got back here, I'm sorry, I'll stand still. I got back here 5 minutes ago. Actually, Dr. Suzuki beat me here, which is kind of amazing, because I know how to travel in and out of here. It is amazing. So there were as many people there as there are here who care about the forests. That is real. So I talked to hundreds of people all weekend, something I hate doing, but I did it anyway. A lot of our MLAs, a lot of people who are in that party really care about the forest, just like you do. And frankly, probably most of you have been party supporters forever. So the other thing we need to know is you need to tell the people who are in charge that you are part of them and you care, because they forget that. We have a disconnect of information. We have an uneven sharing of information. The forest minister, Minister Parmar, told me that we have no broken promises and that we have implemented the old growth strategic review. And I said, no, we haven't. And he said, yes, we have. And I said, no, we haven't. And he's very much bigger than me, so I stopped. And we are living in an interesting world of disinformation, misinformation, confusion. I know that there are well-educated people in Victoria who think we do not log old growth anymore. It is amazing. All that I'm telling you is like hot off my kind of amazement from the weekend. People do not understand what is still happening. So you need to tell them. It comes down to you. All these faces, so write in your calendars right now. First of all, I'm going to tell David Eby and Minister Parmar today that I care about the forest. But they already know that. They're already trying to get over and make it tomorrow. So you have to tell them next week, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after. You have to keep telling them that you care. The thing where we all failed was that they said they were going to do an amazing and a good thing. And then we all went, oh, thank God for that. And then we waited, and they didn't do it. So here we are. So now we have to tell them again. So I could tell you that at that convention, a resolution was passed that said, actually, we need to put ecosystem health back on the table. A resolution was passed at that convention that said we have to put ecosystem health back on the table. So you need to hold them to account. That's my message for today. Thank you very much. All right, this is me. I come from a place where all the trees disappeared 400 years ago. So I had to come here. I had to come here to British Columbia, which is really big. France, Spain, 4 times England, 95 million hectares. And the most diverse place practically on the earth. More forest types, from grasslands to temperate and inland temperate rainforests. It's a freaking amazing place. And people who grew up here and live here don't know this, or they forget it. So I came in 1991 to here, and they were having a conversation about the coast at that time. So old growth forest is a weird and varied thing. All of those pictures are old growth forest. This is why when government tells you information about old growth forest, it could mean frickin' anything. Because it could be about those bog forests up there, which are hundreds and hundreds of years old, or it could be about those big cedar trees and those forests, which are also hundreds and hundreds of years old. That's Fairy Creek. That's pretty rare. That's a piece of old growth forest that you can't see a clear cut in. This is what we do to it. This is what we do to it even today, except it's got window dressing on it today.
Built on an old paradigm, this paradigm of converting the forest from its natural state to timber farms.
So this is Al Gawley. He, along with another fellow, wrote a thing called the Old Growth Strategic Review. And what he talked about there was what we do in British Columbia. Our plan is to take the forest and turn it into a plantation. Every single piece of forest that you see that's not in a park, pretty much, which is pretty much everywhere, that's the plan. And that's what happens when we do that. This is the fall down. We're in a timber flow crisis. Oh my God, it's Trump's fault. It must be. We need to panic and do something about it. Oh my God, we've just noticed. Oh my God, there's no fucking thing to cut down anymore. Oh my God, all the mills are closing. We knew this was coming. And if we didn't, we were dumb. Because every chief forester, we know, we have all this history of what happens when you cut all the big trees down first and you do it just a little too fast and you keep doing it just a little too fast. And then the trees that have grown back, they're little. That's a problem. That's called the fall down. That's why there's no wood left. Because that's what we've done. And if you were there at lunch, I want you to notice the poodle. So how fast have we done this? Well, this is the amazing place that is Vancouver Island and the coast. And this is what we've done to it. All the yellow is the stuff that we've cut in the last 100 years. Can you go back and forth a couple of times? Because it's really fun. That's what it looked like. That's what it looked like 120-ish years ago. Think of all the fish. Think of all the things that disappeared from that system. All of it, pretty much all of it, looked like trees that I was stood on the stump of 120 years ago, and now it looks like that.
Old growth forests are important for many reasons. They provide unique habitats and structures and functions that are not found in younger forests. They're important to people, to First Nations people, to the public, for many reasons, whether it's cultural, aesthetic, recreational, or spiritual. And they're also not easily replaced. It takes 250 years before a forest like this is considered old growth.
So here's a shout out to all the fabulous people who work in the Ministry of Forests, because there's lots of them. There's really lots of them. That's our own Deb McKillop. She runs the bike thing here, and she does a lot of good work, and she was on that lovely Government of British Columbia video. In fact, all of these little clips that I'm showing you were in fact came from a government little thing that you can find on YouTube and watch the whole thing. Oh my God. Thank you, Sandra. So we do know something about the forest.
And move into a new paradigm where we look at the forest as a very complex biological resource, and we determine how we can utilize it best for humans while maintaining its capacity and its integrity.
All those old things contribute to the biodiversity. Turns out that biodiversity is actually the most essential element for maintaining healthy ecosystems. And it's the most essential element in terms of keeping them resilient, in terms of their ability to adapt to changes over time, in terms of their ability to produce ecosystem services that we all depend on, and everything else.
There is clear support from the provincial government for all 14 of the recommendations. The next steps include developing a comprehensive action plan and a BC biodiversity and ecosystem health framework.
So, she didn't sound super enthusiastic about it, did she? But she did say we're going to do it. The government of British Columbia made this video in 2021. They were brave enough. It's still on the website. I downloaded it just in case we take it down. Because it says all kinds of amazing things about what they're going to do. Those two gentlemen are Gary Merkel and Al Gawley, and they wrote a really good report. And they said we need to have a paradigm shift in how we view the forest. You saw little snippets of that. I actually think if you're in this room, you should go online and actually watch that video. It's a whole 13 minutes long. 13 whole minutes. You could probably do it. Get yourself a beer. It's a long time, 13 minutes. Nobody has an attention span past 20 seconds anymore. They said we need to do this. So, a total flip in a moment. Why did they say we need to do it? Because everyone says, we've protected the world. We have all these things that do stuff that they're protected. And, the boys in the mill say, you can't have any more. You've got all this stuff. What are you complaining about? And I don't expect you to get this, but I need to tell you anyway, because this is the educational moment in the evening. This is here. We live here. This is the lake. These colors represent how the province, how the Ministry of Forest manages old growth here. And the red areas are called low biodiversity emphasis. And the old forest target that you have to keep in that area is 4.9%. There's a little plus symbol here, but nobody ever sees that. And the middle ones you have to keep 13%, and the high ones are you have to keep 19%. But provincially 90% of the land base are in those first two categories, and more than half is actually in that first category. Our targets for retention of the resource, the old growth forest, are so low that it's incredible. And here they are, old growth management areas. But actually we put old growth management areas over the parks. Those are high biodiversity areas where the targets are high. So we overlap everything. So we have to do less. And they're big. But the provincial analysis for this area shows that 20% of the old growth management areas have old growth in them. Most of the old growth is outside those areas, and these were set up in 1995. It was actually my first job when I came to the Kootenays, to run around and look for old growth and put them in these areas. And so what we ended up with was, because of this incredible clause that says you have to keep biodiversity without impacting timber supply, that's what happened here. We played a game, and we have played a game for the last 30 years and got to this point where we do not keep what is called the coarse filter, the thing that keeps everything alive and running. We have not implemented it properly. The targets are low, and we haven't implemented them properly. Just as an example here, you all go biking, right? This is up on Give Out, and the green is the old growth management area. It is a steep valley with no trees bigger than me in it. And Bear Den, which is shown in blue, which was identified as a tap deferral polygon, that is not set aside. So we set aside these tiny little areas that do not impact timber supply, and we don't set aside real old growth. That's a general pattern, but it is a repeated and oft seen pattern, and it's really significant. And that's why those two guys, and I have to say I was surprised, because your average middle-aged forester men do not come out and write a report like they did, but they did. They spent a lot of time, and they actually said it like it needs to be said. Here we go, here's our parks. But notice the parks. The parks are up high. The parks don't come to the water, they don't come to the river, they don't connect to the landscape. We have a park system that represents 17% of British Columbia, 45% of which is alpine. Almost nothing is low elevation ecosystem. So we have not put this core thing in place that is needed to actually maintain the values. This is why OGSR and Gary and Al said we needed a paradigm shift in how we manage the land. The OGSR said we must immediately stop harvesting the most at-risk ancient forests. Here they are. There you go, there's your tap deferral polygons. This region is one of the few regions in the province who accepted the guidance that we should immediately set aside and hold the most at-risk old growth for until planning was done. And this is the one place really that has happened. This is in Revelstoke, where I took these pictures. There's a better version of this on Instagram. I can't believe I'm so moved that I made a freaking Instagram reel. Like, what happened to me? I don't know. Anyway, go and see me being an idiot there. We haven't implemented these things with full integrity by any stretch of any hudder's imagination, except his, because he must have a lot of imagination. We have not done this. So I would not boo this man. Here's my thing. It's such an interesting thing. I spent the weekend with 1,000 people in the convention center in Victoria. It was a fascinating experience. Actually, I came away a minuscule amount less cynical than I went in, and I cannot believe that that is true. But it's actually honestly true. It is actually honestly true. I think the Minister of Forests told me that we have in fact implemented all these recommendations. And I don't know what happens between all the people down here who know, and then what the hell happens. And he's really tall, like both of them, the minister and the premier, they're both really tall, so maybe they're just like breathing something else up there. But they don't seem to know, which is why we're here. Right? It's why we're here. An awful lot of people in the province at all levels of government, frankly, know all of this stuff, that we need to do it, but we're not getting the message through to the people at the top who do the work. Two important things happened at that. Ravi Parmar, the Minister of Forests, put in a resolution that we need to do something about the state of jobs. Well, that is great, because we've been telling the Minister of Forests that they need to modernize their resources policies for a long time. So he said he was going to, and that's great. And the other thing that happened is that they passed a resolution that we should implement the biodiversity and ecosystem health law, which is the key thing that came out of those recommendations. And it said, to David's point, that we need to have an overarching law that says, across all ministries, that says we have to, it said prioritize. How about we go, even think about all the other values. We don't even think about all the other things that are out there today in the management system. So Your job is to make sure that these guys know that you care about that. And that's how you do it. So we'd have to mature all the resource policies of the province. We need to demand this law. You need to tell them, if you were there at lunch, you need to tell them every week until they lose power, which they will, and in which case we're really screwed. So do it now, make it happen. Let's encourage them to do the right thing. And here we go. Sign the petition as well. And think about going out on the street more often, because that's what we need to do. We should be on the street every day with what's happening in this world from all directions. Everything from Palestine to gay rights to ICE to the freaking mess that's out there. We need to speak up. If you care, you need to put your body with David's on the line and show it. This is it, guys. This is it. This is the one flag. Thank you.